This is Investment Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Daily live streaming interactive. Featuring Mrs. Backup. Subscribe, hit the notification, smash the likes. Now, here's Backup Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to Investment Perspectives, everybody. Price is now sitting at 20 cents strong. We got some motion in the market. Wouldn't want to call it a bull run for sure, but I'll tell you what, it's just nice to see it pushing in the right direction. I'll tell you that. Who knows? I don't know where this is coming from, and if anybody else does, feel free to leave a comment in the underneath the video here, because it's like I said, it just feels good to see things pushing. The numbers are looking good this morning, and who's unhappy about that? Certainly not me. Well, I'll tell you what, I want to start today because we're going to talk about a few things. One, the dollar's in trouble. The dollar is in trouble. The US dollar as a global reserve currency is in trouble. And we know we've talked about this for quite some time, not only because of the US economic collapse, but because of the global economic collapse, the deliberate shutdown of the economy around the world, as well as the crisis, the liquidity crisis that existed before the pandemic even showed up. So that's a problem. We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about the fact that there is some evidence here that we're going to take a look at that I think shows clearly the case that Ripple could eventually become a neutral asset to serve as a global supplement to trade. And if you wanted to see it as a global reserve currency over the long haul, I think you could also see it in that respect too. And we're going to take some look at some evidence of that today. Let's get started. So first place we're going to go today is this article right here that came out by Forbes contributor Billy Bambrow. So Donald Trump's China nightmare is coming true for the US dollar. Listen to this article. The U.S. President Donald Trump's power struggle with China was perhaps a defining feature of his presidency until the pandemic struck. The pandemic with subsequent lockdowns crashed global markets and pushed investors around the world toward the safety of the almighty dollar. But the U.S. dollar's days as the world's reserve currency could be numbered, with some of the biggest ever changes to government-backed central bank currencies looming. China leading the field. Casual discussion around central bank digital currencies, sometimes called CBDCs, have been going on for the last few years. Digital currencies would work just like regular coins and notes issued by central banks, but exist entirely online. Instead of printing or minting currency, the central banks would issue digital dollars via online accounts. Similar to the commercial banking apps that have exploded in the popularity in recent years, employers could theoretically pay directly into these government-run accounts, and both online and physical stores could accept payment from them. Foreign exchange could also be handled through them, easing the flow of international trade. The long-running debate among central bankers over the need of digital currencies was blown wide open last year by news of Facebook's Libra project, something that almost saw the social media giant elevate itself or even above central bank status as an issuer of the first global currency. World leaders and regulators slapped Facebook down. We have only one real currency in the USA, and it's stronger than ever, both dependable and reliable, Trump said last year in a tweet tirade against Facebook's Libra, as well as Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, scarce digital assets that were the inspiration for Libra. The dollar is by far the most dominant currency anywhere in the world, and will always stay that way. Libra is expected to launch later this year, though somewhat reduced from Facebook chief executive Mark Zuckerberg's original vision. Some lawmakers have proposed the creation of digital dollars and so-called Fed accounts as a part of stimulus bill design to offset the economic damage wrought by the pandemic-induced lockdowns. These have so far been excluded from final bills and may never get through divided Congress, perhaps leaving Facebook Libra a de facto digital dollar. The big battle for global financial supremacy could be between the digital yuan and Facebook's Libra dollar, a digital version of the US dollar, said financial author and trading veteran Glenn Goodman. who made a name for himself by successfully navigating stock markets during the 2008 global financial crisis and has been closely following the development of central bank digital currencies. Both of these currencies may be launched as soon as this year and will make a quicker, cheaper, and more efficient to buy and sell or transfer money from place to place. China will pull out all the stops to convince international trading partners to switch from the dollar to their new currency. If they manage to lure enough users, the US dollar could be in deep trouble. China is expected to begin internally testing a digital yuan with its 4 largest commercial banks this month and has lined up a raft of international corporate partners, including coffee chain Starbucks and fast food giant McDonald's. Battle lines are now being drawn, but the war could be measured in decades, not years. Given the risk inherent to such a transformation, China will phase in CBDC very gradually, journalists at the widely respected Economist newspaper wrote this week, pointing to an analysis that from CITIC Securities that estimates it will take several years for the digital yuan to replace just about 10% of all physical cash in China. Donald Trump's first term as U.S. president may have been marked by his trade war with China, but if he wins a second, he could go down in history as the president that saw the U.S. dollar fall from grace. Now, you know, they're pushing the Facebook Libra coin, and I understand that that was the catalyst for this conversation worldwide, and I'm grateful for that. Now, to be perfectly clear, Facebook has made some changes to that white paper that wasn't worth anything but an argument. The reality is they're now looking at issuing the potential of the Facebook Libra coin being a stable coin pegged to the dollar of the country that you happen to be in. So there may be a UK Libra coin, a USD Libra coin, so on and so forth. We'll have to see how that shakes out. However, I want to continue moving on because the reality is that China is releasing their central bank digital currency, and it is a threat and a problem if the global reserve currency for the USD intends to stay in that position or at least challenge and have a leading position in the digital asset space when it comes to stable coins and beyond. Let's keep this moving because now I want to take you to real XRP boy who has just been dropping fire here lately, and shout out to him. And this is a nice clip from a gentleman here talking about the world needs economic growth, and listen to what his thoughts are at this conference here.
It is first and foremost, it's an amazing payments platform. That is what it was built for. That's what the original concept was for it, and that's what it does, and it does it really, really well. It's well supported by a company that has stewarded it for 5 years with no issues. Been running in production with real value on it for a very long time as the second biggest cryptocurrency in the world by market cap. A fair distance behind Bitcoin, admittedly, but pretty significant until Ether grew as it did. And personally, I think the only reason that Ripple isn't up there with Ether and Bitcoin is that Ripple as a company hasn't been able to put the focus into it that I think we would have liked to. And the community didn't take hold of it and do something with it as we kind of hoped they would. So if anyone is interested in doing projects on blockchain, wants to look at some really, really awesome blockchain technology, I would encourage you to look at this. Look at Ripple's distributed ledger. If your use case is payments, it is awesome. It is a seriously, seriously impressive piece of technology. Now, I think it's fairly obvious then why as Ripple, we're so invested in interledger protocol. It's an open protocol, right? Nobody gains anything by an open protocol itself or by open source software itself. You win in the industry, or you succeed by the fact that you give something to the industry or the community that's open and useful because you trust your ability to execute on top of it. And that's really what Ripple as a company is doing with its commercial solutions. But we genuinely believe that XRP and Ripple's distributed ledger technology will make it, will become more influential globally with interoperability. Because when everything is interoperable, You're no longer competing on reach. You're competing on how good is your network. And personally, I absolutely believe this. Ripple's is up there.
Really great video, the gentleman. Now I want to just find this spot here really quickly for us, right here. Now, if you look at this, one of the things that it shows here, XRP incentives for market makers to maintain tight spreads. Tight spreads. Now, just remember that we're covering this. XRP is a global reserve currency. This was apparently from a conference back in March of 2017, 3 years ago. And look at the level of partnerships and the development of the things that Ripple has done as a blockchain infrastructure company with the ILP, the XRP Ledger, and RippleNet and Ripple Home inside of RippleNet as choice options for pairing people up in settlement and companies. All right, let's keep this thing going. We got to go down here. Cryptopolis has been on fire. Shout out to XRP Crypto Wolf. Some great stuff coming out today. We'll talk about that at lunchtime. All right, let's see this. XRP can increase the velocity of money. This is a huge part of what we talk about on this channel all the time. The dollar is in trouble. Liquidity is the crisis, which means access to more cash. The velocity of money, digital token, digital assets, can speed up the settlement, the instant settlement and use of transactions. So the reality is you can actually close the gap on the liquidity crisis with the velocity of money. All right, let's look at this little clip here. It says, macroeconomic benefits of real-time payments. A number of central banks, including the U.S. Federal Reserve, Finland, and Australia, have been exploring and advocating a move to real-time payment systems. Currently, the pace of the payment system acts like a bottleneck on economic activity. To make an analogy to the pre-email days, it harkens back to when paper contracts were shipped back and forth between counterparties for physical signatures in order to get a deal done. Much like email sped up the pace of doing business, a jump to real-time payments can also accelerate economic activity and increase the velocity of money by reducing the settlement time of payroll, accounts receivables, and other financial interactions. Ripple can speed up the cash conversion cycle of a company. Increasing velocity of money from a macroeconomic perspective, Ripple could increase the velocity of money, translating into greater economic activity. The velocity of money is the rate at which money flows from one transaction to another. As we've discussed throughout this report, banks and their customers typically need to wait several days to gain access to funds in cross-border transactions. You know, liquidity is a crisis around the globe. The dollar is in trouble. And looking even further is another great post here I want to tie in about what XRP can do and how it can act as a counter-free party currency. So traditional currencies like EU or the Euro and the USD are not natively digital assets. When we send electronic payments, we obviously cannot transfer physical paper bills across the internet. Instead, we exchange bank balances, which are effectively just IOUs that the bank has issued. A bank balance is a promise from the bank that you can redeem your money on demand, but it is nothing more than a promise to repay. All digital fiat money has counterparty risk. XRP, unlike USD, is a natively digital asset. It can be transferred directly between two parties across the internet. Sending XRP is akin to exchanging cash USD. There is no counterparty risk involved. You can digitally exchange the asset itself as opposed to an IOU. The dollar is in trouble. The value is in the protocol, just like Glenn Hutchins says. Okay, now that we covered that, let's go another step further here, because what we want to go to now is this post that was shared by CR. Shout out to CR for this post. This was a comment back in March of last year that was in response to, I believe, Major Tom XRP. Shout out to Major Tom at the time there, too. Bob Way responds to this, and Bob Way had been a amazing communicator and a brilliant team member for Ripple in helping develop some of the patents and some of the plan of attack on how they would implement Ripple and XRP. So let's talk about this. Major Tom had said, is this mechanism in action? Has it been deployed yet? We're not yet seeing any pressure to the upside in action. If not, what are they waiting on? Is there some threshold that needs to be met for full XRP deployment? Now, again, this is from last year, March, but the reality is I think that feeling is alive and well today. It sure is in my comments under the videos. How could you be so hyped? How could you be so positive every day? I understand what I hold. And if you don't, this is not investment advice, but I hope that you sell, because I'm going to buy what you have off the floor. The mechanism, Bob Way responds, the mechanism is not in action yet, and it is by no means magic. It can't spike the price on demand. The mechanism is meant to drive XRP into the bridge currency position. It does this by steering payment from traditional fiat to fiat corridors to fiat to XRP fiat corridors. But to make that work, it needs as much RippleNet payment volume as it can get. That includes both bank payment volume and XRapid payment volume. The mechanism is one way to unite two currently different ecosystems. Bank payments versus payment service provider payments into a single unified system, federated. This has the potential to drive a huge network effect. Google that term. Again, value is in the protocol and the process and how you put the protocol to use. Let's take a look at the term. Network effect is the effect described in economics and business that an additional user of goods or services has on the value of that product to others. Listen very carefully. When a network effect is present, the value of a product or service increases according to the number of others using it. You could also refer to this as Javon Paradox as well. This is quite interesting. Let's read this definition from Investopedia here. This is also a good one. The network effect is a phenomenon whereby increased numbers of people or participants improve the value of a good or service. The internet is an example of the network effect. Initially, there were few users on the internet since it was a little value to anyone outside of the military and some research scientists. Does that help? Let's finish it up with this little clip here again from Real XRP Boy from an interview I did with Bob Way some time ago. And shout out to Bob Way and his family. I hope everybody's doing good, and Pacini too. Let's check this little clip out here. In this clip, we are absolutely talking about the flywheel theory and about how I had used the word stable before this clip started. And stable was a good word, but not the best word to explain where I paused the video on the gentleman a minute ago, talking about market makers able to incentivize because they can trade with a tight spread on their market making. So here we go. Let's let this clip roll.
This kind of volatility. But we want to put that on an upward trend. Right. So
here we go. Listen.
this kind of volatility. But we want to put that on an upward trend. Right. So we want it less volatile, but we want it continually increasing in value.
Exactly.
And so that's what we want to look for ways to do that. And people always ask, this is the whole patent thread on there. And there's what I call causation and correlation arguments that you can make. And so the patent thread makes causation articles. It's the most pessimistic way of looking at this particular case. And what it says is there exists this group of people called market makers, and they're very competitive, and they're there to profit on two-way flows and making fees.
Exactly.
They don't profit on the increasing price. That's not their job.
Listen very
Their job
carefully.
is at any given price to make sure there's liquidity so people can sell and their apparent price is the last tick price.
Right.
And so that's their job, and they're happy making money at any price. And so what we want to do is increase the competition there, because those people need to buy XRP to participate in the market.
That's right.
And though it looks like they're trading every day, they're not holding, they're not consuming XRP. They absolutely are.
Right.
Because if you're a market maker, you're buying XRP and then immediately selling it, and then you're buying back what you sold, and then you're trading back and forth.
Right.
But you're not net selling XRP ever.
Right.
You're actually net accumulating XRP in this market as it's going back. So every time you hear somebody talk about a new market maker coming into the ecosystem, think, wow, a guy he brought in a whole bunch of cash and he took nothing out, right? So he consumed XRP and he's pushing up the price.
Exactly.
And the more of those people you can get to compete for real live profits, and it sounds like I'm saying they're pillaging the payment senders for profits, but it's the Javon Paradox thing.
Exactly.
There you have it. And shout out to Bob Way. I hope him and his family are doing fantastic. What he's describing here is exactly what we have not seen yet. We have seen MoneyGram use XRP for settlement in the corridors, but what we're still missing is the competition brought in those same corridors, creating the flywheel effect, which is where the market makers, not the market participants who need to make payments, but the market makers who make the payments for those market participants. We need more competition to come inside those corridors in the remittance industry to where, and even in the banking sector, to be honest, because once this happens, you get a buy and buy back scenario, because it's in their best interest to buy back the XRP they just used for the transaction, because they're going to be making it over and over and over again. And they know that if there's competition within that corridor competing with them and they are also using XRP, they will be doing a buy-back scenario as well, creating the price to push up, because they all understand the price is never actually going to be that low again, because we're all going to be on our way up in price. This is the value in the protocol. This is the value in the process of the implementation of how you bring it online in use and everyone take up the system. This same effect for the flywheel theory occurs with central banks. And again, once they start using it, it just takes two banks to start using it, and that will kick off the flywheel theory in the banking world as well. We are not there yet, but I'll tell you something, we're close. And when we get there, I think you create the kind of scenario that can drive liquidity into the system as well as the utility. And at that point, at some point after that, you could really start having a serious conversation about XRP becoming a global reserve currency. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. If you like the content, hit the like and subscribe. I know this is a little bit longer today, but I feel like it was a nice layout and it was exactly what we need to see. I'm bullish on XRP, and I apologize to no one for it. I'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget to tune in today at 12 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have a great show today and a lot more to cover, so make sure you tune in. We will see you on the next one.